All right, well, here is another thing that you can do. It's not really a subassembly, it's just something that should be done early in the process. The way this clock is going to work is this escape lever is going to come down and hit right here. And that's the tick on your tick-tock clock. And so as that escape lever hits, this is going to drag just a little bit. And we want to make sure that the surface on the tip of each of these tips of the escape wheel are smooth. And so we've learned that it's a good idea with the way that we have designed this gear. These aren't rounded. A lot of people in their designs, they round it. Well, what we do instead is I put a piece of tape on the escape lever so I know where I started, and then take a piece of this black sandpaper, a brand new piece. They're strips about that long. You're going to fold it in half, and then you're just going to simply sand that. You want to keep it flat, and just sand that surface just a little bit. Now sometimes these edges are really jagged, okay? And so we're just going to sand those, and it's important to put a little piece of tape or something on there so you kind of know where you started. And I'm just going to sand these. I always like to do this sitting down, and you don't want to sand it too much. Just a few swipes kind of clean it up a little bit. And make your way around the clock. If you're going to start and stop, then you can kind of try and figure out where you stop, because you want to sand these evenly. I'm going to make my way all the way around this so I don't mess up. And this one's going to be ready to go for when we're putting gears on arbors. So this is 600 grit sandpaper, and when you get about halfway through your gear, you want to flip that sandpaper over and use the back side of it. It's new again. Okay. Now, if there's little tiny chips off this gear, that's not a big problem. But if there's a pretty significant damage to these tips, then you want to show me, and I'll let you know if it's something that is going to be a problem or not. Okay, so I'm almost halfway done, and I'm just sanding these so they're a little bit smoother and not so sharp. And so it's all about reducing the friction in your clock. And later on, we're actually going to treat these with graphite. I'm going to flip it over and use the backside now to do the second half. I'm halfway done. So this one won't take a long time. And if you forget to do this, we can always do this when it's on the actual clock. But it's kind of nice to do it ahead of time, because when you do get it on the clock, it's going to start running and telling time faster. And that'll feel good, because by then you'll be worn out from clocks. So we'll just do the work now while it's easy and in our hand, rather than when it's already in the clock. So I'm 3/4 of the way done now. Go in my last quarter. And here we go. And that's the escape wheel. And sanding with 600 grit sandpaper, just a little bit. Now I've made my way all the way along, and I'm just going to kind of check. I can kind of feel they're pretty smooth. None of them are super jagged. It's going to make a big difference. Now it'll also, the clock will kind of wear itself in as we let it run. We do this thing called the 7-second test, which we really want to have happen in about 5.5 to 6 seconds. But that's what you do on the escape wheel. You use a piece of 600 grit sandpaper, and you just touch up each of those tips just a little bit to make sure there's no burrs on there, because a lot of times there are. Now the rest of the gears, it doesn't matter. You don't have to go through the rest of the gears and do any kind of sanding at all. But on this one, put a little indexing piece of tape, work your way around, and it's going to turn out fantastic. You can take that tape when you're done, take it off, and you know that you're good to go for that one. So there it is, and there you have it.